G'day and welcome back. Welcome back to part 2 of this Healing 501E radio repair restoration. This doesn't belong to me, it belongs to a friend of mine in Melbourne. He said that one day it was working all right and then there was a bit of a pop, bit of a smell, and it stopped working. As it turned out, the transformer had an open winding in the secondary. I had an exact replacement, so I've put that in. The radio is working and it's working quite well.
We can get them to apply the firefighting drill and get...
So we're ready to move on to the next part. The tuning capacitor rubbers need to be replaced, and also the tuning shaft here has a little rubber spindle on there and it's got a groove in it at the moment. It's not supposed to have a groove, it's supposed to be straight. So I've got a replacement for that. To get to the spindle, I need to take this front fascia off, so I'll do that. That'll also make it easier to get to the capacitor. I think this back plate's just held on by the potentiometers there. Try and loosen, boy, they're tight. Okay. All right, I'll take these off. We should be able to get that plate off. The nuts are off, so I have to let the dial string go. And it will come off. There's the spindle, and it's got a C-clip on the back. I'll have to try and get that off. 2 screws, and I think it'll come out. I can't get this clip out. I'll have to sort of mangle it a bit to get it out, I think. I think it's just a bit of flat plate. It's not actually a spring clip. All right, just undo the screws. Ooh, clearly that rubber's seen better days. I have other ones here, or new ones. I've printed these on my 3D printer. They're a tight fit on here. I actually printed this the last time I did one of these radios and it's worked all right and it's still working well now. So I'll use that on here, but I need to put it on in the press. It's a very tight fit. I'll use my drill press to push these in. It's probably a little tighter than it needs to be, but it will go in. I'll go at my workshop. I'll give this a quick sand and a coat of paint, I think. It's just gone very, very yellow. It should be a bit whiter than that. And there was a paper scale along the top here for setting the alignment, and that's just disintegrated. So I've made a new one. So I'll paint this and then I'll glue that on. It's time to have a look at these tuning capacitor mounts. There's one on the front there. There's one on the back. And there's one hiding around the front there, or the side. I'll start with this easy one first. I'll work out how I'm going to do it, then I can do the rest. That isn't going to give me enough room. I think there's a little washer on there. Yeah. There's also a brass spacer in there. I'll release the other 2 mounts and that'll make it easier to get the grommets in. I'll do that, I'll come back. I think I'll go the whole hog and I'll remove this. There's just 2 wires soldered there, and there's one around here for a ground. The wires are undone. This should come out. There we go. So that'll give me a chance to clean all this, and I might even give this a bit of a clean as well. I'll take this pulley off. I've put a little mark there, so that's the bottom when it's fully meshed. That'll probably come off when I clean it, but I'll know from the video. I have the tuning capacitor in the ultrasonic machine. I'll just turn it off actually. Can't hear myself think. As I saw in part 1, this pretty much is just dirt. There is corrosion there, but it doesn't show up too bad, so it just needs to be cleaned off. So it really just cleans off with a bit of solvent. Yeah, so that'll come off. And I'll take these old rubbers off too. I'll continue cleaning the radio. I'll take it back inside. I'll finish cleaning these. Here's the chassis, and I've finished cleaning around here. I've got some grommets here. These are really tight to get in. I've got that one in, and it takes a bit to just work it in. It does get in eventually, but they're just a little bit too big for the hole. Yes, that wasn't so bad. Now these little brass spacers need to go in, but I think they're a bit loose. In fact, they're a lot loose. To build them up, what I can do is put some heat shrink around them. I'll see how tight it is. It's not bad. I was going to say I can put another layer on if I needed to. No, that's good, tight. Okay, there you go. Very good. All right, I'll do the rest of those. I'll come back. I've put the grommets in and I can put the capacitor on in a minute, but before I do, I'll put this spindle back together and then I can get that C-clip, if you want to call it that, on the back, a bit easier than when it's all assembled. There's a little clip that I removed earlier and I flattened it out. Hopefully I can just squash it back in. Something like that. Needs a bit more work. Alright, that's about got it. Yeah, it took a little bit of work to get it in, but that's in now. So there's our new spindle. Now this goes on the front of the capacitor. And it has 3 little spaces there to keep the plate off the face here. And then of course the 3 screws go back in. With that done, this whole assembly can be remounted on the new rubbers. So a little fibre washer in there, and then the screw from the bottom. I'll do the other 2 off camera and I'll come back. I finished mounting the capacitors, so we're ready to go. I was going to put the front cover on, but I thought I better look at this on-off switch, and it doesn't work very well. These switches are just layers of phenolic material. It's sort of shaped out in the middle, and there's a little dumbbell-shaped brass toggle that goes from one side to the other to short out the 2 pins either end. So a bit hard to get in there, but it is all over the place. So I'll spray some deoxit down next to the pins and maybe it'll get in there. I'll go in from the other end as well. I have pulled this type of switch apart before and put the rivets back in. That's still working, that switch. And we'll see if we can do it without pulling it apart. Okay, we'll try it now. Might have got in there because it is, that's much better. Huh. Alright, oh well, it must have got in there. I can put this back plate on now, and I said I was going to paint it, but once I cleaned it up ready to paint, it looked good enough that I haven't bothered it. It's cleaned up really well. The installation's just the reverse of taking it apart, so I put the nuts in, and that's all that holds it onto the chassis. With that backplate installed, I can restring it now. It's a very simple run. I did do a sketch of it and I produced it here on this piece of paper. And once I verify that that's correct, I'll stick it up on Radio Museum. To start with, there was a washer tied on the end of the string there through that hole. So I'll just run that around there and I'll get the string past that shaft. And according to my drawing, we just poke that through there. And it wraps around this spindle twice. There's one turn, I'll do it again. Back in again. Okay, then up on the pulley, and then around this end pulley, then around on this end pulley, and back on the main pulley. Now just wind this big pulley back, and we should see the hole to put this string in, which is there. I'll put some tape on there while I hook this into the spring. There it is. I'll take the string out for a second till I can make sure we got this right. The gang should open when I turn the shaft clockwise, and that little marker should move that way. Absolutely. Okay. Fantastic. I'll finish tying that off. We can put the pointer back on and check the RF alignment. Before we can check the alignment, of course, I need to put the pointer back on. I gave it a coat of paint. Very simply, it just hooks in there. That's it. And the pointer's got a clever little party trick. You just run it along and there's a stop here. You run it into the stop, keep winding the knob, and it sets the pointer up. So that's now set. There used to be a paper scale up the top end there, and I said earlier I'd reproduced it. Here it is. The alignment instructions say that on that stop, the left side of the pointer here should align with that mark. And that also aligns with the end of the metal there. So that looks about right. I'm confident that's in the right place, so I'll glue it on. Hopefully this is aligned properly. I don't have to do anything. I've got the generator over there on 600. Well, let's move this over to 600. I assume the left side of that lines up with the 600 as well. No, not there. There it is. Alright, I'll have to adjust it. Okay, I'm set up. There's the oscillator coil. There's 3 trimmers there. The oscillator coil's running to that trimmer, so that's the oscillator padder. This one's running back to the tuning capacitor, so that's the trimmer. We'll do that at 1500. The padder's done at 600. And this will be the antenna trimmer. That'll be done at 1500 as well. The antenna coil's in here, and there's an adjustment for it there. This is the oscillator padder. I'll adjust that one. Generator's still on 600. The dial is just above the 600 where it's getting the signal. Actually, I'll move it down a little bit. Then I'll wind this out and should follow it down. It's not doing much. Oh, I've actually wound that all the way out. Okay, so that's a problem. That means that oscillator there has too much capacitance and I can't lower it enough to bring the tuning down. I've replaced that 6A8 valve and just see if that's made a difference or not. So there we are, tuned in again, and it did change the tuning slightly, but still not enough. On the bottom of that trimmer there's a mica capacitor going to ground, and there's another capacitor here. I wonder if they're influencing that trimmer capacitor. Here's the padder trimmer for the local oscillator, and there's the capacitor there, C5, and C5 is 0.004 UF, so that's 400 picofarad, 400 volts, silver mica. The other one is this one here, and this is a DC blocking capacitor. It's blocking DC from getting on the grid here. So yeah, that may be leaking DC. I'm not sure how that would affect it. And that's C8, which is a 0.05. I can unsolder both of them here. We'll see what they read. I've unsoldered those two. I'll put that on the 400 picofarad. Turn that on. We need 2 nanofarad for the range. 0.421. A little unusual that it's slightly out actually. I'll try it on here. This is 0.05, so I get a 20 microfarad. It's 0.05. I've tacked in a replacement for this capacitor. That's a 0.047. And I've made up 2 new micas here. It comes out to about 390, so it's about 10 picofarad below what it should be. And these trimmers only trim maybe 30 picofarad, so it has to be pretty close. The radio's running. I'll see if I can find the signal. Oh, wow. I think that's where it's supposed to be, on that left edge. I'll just see if I can get it any closer. A little bit. I think what I should do is I'll run it up to 15 or 14 and just make sure it's going to trim at the other end. So up to 14, we'll go to 14. Okay, here's 14. We'll put the generator on 14. Oops, not there. It's up there. This is the one we need to try and trim it back. No worries. Excellent. I'll permanently mount these capacitors. I'll come back and we'll set it up properly. I ended up putting the original capacitor back. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I've soldered in the new micas down the bottom there. I also quickly rechecked these two, just make sure they were in the right place still after I soldered everything back. So I'll do the antenna adjustments. I've got this back on 600. I've got the generator on 600. To adjust the antenna coil, it's the one up the top here. I'll just peak that. Now getting a bit out of that actually. Oh. That seems to be about right there. Now, of course, I'm just doing this by ear. I'll move this up to 1400. And there's 14, and there's the mark. I'll put this on 14. This is the trimmer for the antenna. So it's not making any difference. There's the top of the trimmer, and I don't think there's a sheet of mica in there. I'll take the screw out. There's nothing there. I put a new trimmer in. There was mica in the old one, but it had broken one corner off, so this might hopefully fix it. It sounds better. Right there. Perfect. I'll check the IF alignment off camera. If something goes wrong, I'll bring you back and we'll have a look at it, but otherwise it's just straightforward. I've done a few things to the radio since the last bit of video. I adjusted these IF transformers. They were pretty much spot on. I also replaced this valve. I put the original one back in, which is a slightly better valve. So I went back and checked the RF alignment, and it was slightly different, so I just adjusted that back to being correct. I also temporarily put the chassis in the radio case, and using the left edge of the pointer to align it to the scale, it was perfect. The pointer was right in the middle of 600, 1400. It was absolutely spot on. I also wired in the on-off switch, which I had cleaned earlier, so we'll see if that works. It does work. I'll let that warm up for a minute and come back. And there it is.
This was a painting. The painting was called Echo Homo.
Open to those effectively on it.
Elders and artists.
Yeah, it's working very nice. The automatic gain control's working. Those 3 stations are different strengths, so they're all about even volume.
It's persuasion and
What we were seeing.
Yeah,
he flew to Spain for research.
so that's a very strong station. Slightly louder, but the other 2 are pretty weak, and they're similar volume. All right, we know it's all working. What's next? Anything left, I think, is to fit a new power cord. This one's no good. I have these ones here. I get these from Carl, the Capacitor King. There's a link in the description for his eBay store. And also, there was a hole in the back of the chassis, and I've put a fuse holder in it. It's one of these ones that just screws up at the back. I don't usually like mounting modern fuse holders on the back of an old radio, but it's got a hole anyway, so I might as well use it. The other thing I need to do is the speaker. It's got a bit of rust on it there, and the little cover there needs to be cleaned up and painted. So I'll fit the new cord, fit the fuse into the fuse holder, wire it all up, and I'll take the speaker and the cabinet outside, and we'll have a look at that. Got the case out in the workshop. I'll have a look at that in a second. I'll have a look at this speaker first. It has some fairly heavy rust here. I'll just wipe it off with it's got a bit of shellite on this, and it's a scourer pad. Yeah, so I'll just treat that. I don't really want to repaint it. I think it'll come off here. Yeah, look, that's kind of cleaning up. I'm not going to go mad with that. I'll clean that up. I'll rust treat that, and I think that'll do. The case looks pretty good. It's a bit dirty, but it hasn't, gone dull or anything. It hasn't been sitting out in the sun. So I don't think this needs much at all. I'll probably just clean it up and maybe polish it with a bit of brass. So I might put the gel coat on it. The grill cloth's not too bad. It's faded a little bit, but it's still intact and it's still in reasonable condition, so I should be able to use that again. In part 1, I looked at the dial here, and the yellow's starting to flake off over in this side here. It's not too bad otherwise, a bit over there, but I do have a spare dial that's in pretty good condition, so maybe I'll just fit this one. I've already taken the speaker out, so it's only 4 screws to get this wooden back plate here for the speaker. And 4 screws for the dial glass. With all that removed, I'll go and give this a good scrub, and then I'll come back and work out what I need to do to make it look good again. That's cleaning up pretty good. Needs a little bit more around there. So I will put some rust converter on that and just change that. And this cap here, I'll put some rust converter on that as well and give that a good coat of paint. I cleaned the case, I scrubbed it, I got in with a toothbrush into all the little crevices there, and it's it's immaculate. There's no scratches or anything on it. I'm not even going to polish it. I'm going to put the Polytrol gel coat on it, and I think that'll be good enough to bring it back. If you haven't seen me use this before, it simply wipes on, you let it dry, and you polish it off. And it puts a really nice sheen on it. Doesn't look too unnatural. It looks really good when it's finished. It's as easy as that. You just wipe it on. You give it about, I think it's 20 minutes, give it a bit of a buff to get the excess off, and then you let it dry for 24 hours. I'll keep applying this. I'll come back when I've finished. I've left this for about 20 minutes, so you just give it a bit of a polish with a soft cloth. Just takes any highs and lows off and makes it look a bit shinier. And that's it. I'll do the whole case. I'll come back later on and we'll have a look at the finished product. The case is dried and it looks really good. Very smart. Very happy with that. And I also said I was going to reuse this cloth, but it's actually really faded and it has holes in it. Probably can't see them on camera, but it's got some holes. There's one there, there's one there. Yeah, they're all over, and it's also got mold on it. I did try and clean that mold off, but I couldn't do it without damaging the material. So I think I'm going to change that. And I have this pattern here, and it looks all right in the radio. I asked my wife for her impression of it, and she said, I'm sorry, I don't do impressions. So I'll go with it anyway, and we'll see how it looks. Another thing with it is very floppy, so that's going to move around as the speaker works. That looks like it'll come off, so I'll just keep doing that. I've removed all the old fabric from there, and this is the new one. I'll have to make sure I line up the pattern. It's got to be all square. I think it'll show if I've got it crooked because it's got the vertical bars on the case. So I need to make sure that's all square. I'll just use some Sally's Quick Grip and just spray this top surface to start with. I'll let that tack off for a few minutes. That's gone tacky now. I'll lay this down here. That edge along there is pretty straight, so I'll try and lay this down as best I can. I think that's pretty good. Now I'll try and stretch it out. I'll have to keep working it to get it all straight. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit out. I'll have to keep playing with it. I'll turn the camera off. I'll get it all sorted. I'll come back. It's all nice and straight and square. Didn't take that much effort, actually. I'll just spray in here and up here, and then I can fold this cloth up, trim it off, and we'll be done. The piece of wood here is just to stop the spray getting inside on the back of the cloth there. I think that's tacked off enough. We'll just mount the cloth on it. That's all I need to do now. I forgot to cut one corner there. I'm very happy with that. I think I can start assembling the radio. Before I take the case inside, I will mount the speaker baffle here. So it's just these 4 screws with big washers on them. I'll do them up. I'll take the case inside, and I think I'll put the dial glass on inside. I have the replacement dial glass here. I've cleaned it up on the other side, but it has some black paint missing. So I'll just touch it up. This is where the clamps go, I think. There's a scratch there. A little bit missing there. That's where the other clamp goes. And there's a chip here. The edge is chipped there. So I'll just fill that up as well. All right. I'll have to let that dry. I might as well put the speaker in while I wait for the dial to dry. The speaker's more of the same. It's just got the standard 4 screws in it. That's mounted and it looks pretty good. The rust is gone and it's cleaned up nicely. The paint's dry. I'll put the glass in. I've cut some little bits of rubber to protect the glass. and it just has a clip. Okay, that's nice. I'll do the other 3. There we go. All right, that's all 4 done. That looks good. I can put the chassis in now. I've put the 4 retaining screws in for the chassis, and it's got new little rubber feet there. I've got some felts here to put behind the knobs. And the knobs have tuning written on it. That's tuning. And this one says switch, so that's the on-off switch. That one says tone, but it's pushing that back plate. I'll have to get behind there and just hold it while I push the knob on. And this one's volume. I'll just support the tone control while I push this knob on. And there it is. There it is. It's finished. I'm happy with the way it's come out. It looks nice. The replacement dial looks good, so it's lucky I had one of those. The grill cloth looks good. I would have liked the original, but that wasn't going to happen. I'll run the radio through the stations. I've dimmed some of the lights off so we can see the dial.
Not a problem. Miriam Bradbury from the Bureau of Meteorology there. Now, coming up, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. I don't know whether you made any 6 days ago.
So I'll move to the next one, which is the sports station.
200 because of that move.
Would you like to see more of that?
Why not? That's can't tax.
The black community in favour of white people or white culture. The Independent also reported.
And
Matt Thompson from
that's a very soft station. It's only just picking that up. And
grade 5 here over the 4.
that's the sports station, of course.
The shorter trip with just the 2 over the 460 here tonight.
And not much further up than that. Just picking up a bit of noise from something. Yeah, so not going to get much up there. But yeah, it works really well. This is the best station. Got a bit of music there. Bit of AC/DC. The radio's finished. It's working well. I'll get onto the owner and he can work out how he's going to get it back. I think the owner will be happy with it. I put more work into it than I should have. I didn't expect to change a transformer. I didn't expect to change, most of the valves in it. There was components in there that had to be replaced as well. Plus the dial glass had to come up with a new knob. So a lot of extra work that I was not expecting to do. I expected to change a couple of capacitors and put it back together and send it off. But anyway, I quite enjoyed working on this. I like this radio. I hope you enjoyed following along in this series, and I hope you can join me next time for my next radio adventure.